Have you ever wondered why someone who seems so deeply committed to their faith, maybe after years of sincere study, sometimes just walks away from it all? Well, the source material we're looking at today offers a really fascinating and honestly a provocative theory. It suggests this isn't a failure of the person searching, but a feature of a system it calls the Great Hijacking.
And really, the entire theory boils down to this one question. I mean, if a religion is supposed to be true, why do its institutions often seem so flawed that they actually push away the very people who are looking for truth? According to our source, this is no accident. It's the result of what it calls a deliberate spiritual trap.
So the source actually calls this a spiritual booby trap. The whole idea is that a divine message can be intentionally subverted, and not just to mislead people, but to completely destroy their faith in the very idea of a higher power.
Okay, so how does this trap work? Well, the theory says it happens in 3 stages. First, the authentic original message gets hidden or pushed to the side. Then, in its place, a plausible but totally hollow counterfeit is set up. Think of institutions that are more about power and ritual than actual spirit. And here's the final step. When sincere people inevitably find all the cracks and flaws in this counterfeit, they don't just reject the fake version. They conclude the entire thing was a lie from the start, and they abandon faith altogether.
The metaphor our source uses for this counterfeit is just perfect. A house of cards. It looks so impressive from the outside, right? A solid structure of faith with all the right appearances. But because it doesn't have a real foundation in that original message, the text argues that just one single breath of genuine critical thinking is enough to make the whole thing collapse.
And this is a really crucial point. This isn't just some abstract theory about one religion. The source text claims it's a repeating historical pattern, a hijacking that it argues has happened after every major prophet.
The source points first to the time after Moses. It talks about how Moses appointed his successor Aaron, but the people ended up rejecting him for something more tangible, something they could see, a golden calf. The text suggests this pattern just kept going. After the next leader, Joshua, the chain of divinely appointed succession broke down completely, which led to the chaos we read about in the book of Judges, where, everyone did what was right in his own eyes. The guide was lost, and so was the path.
Next, the source applies this exact same pattern to early Christianity. It argues that while Jesus explicitly designated Simon Peter to lead after him, it was ultimately the theology of Paul, who, remember, never actually met Jesus in person, that really took off and spread. The text suggests a reason for this. Paul's message of salvation through belief alone was maybe a bit easier to swallow than one that required strict adherence to the law. And in this view, Peter, the appointed guide, was sidelined, and a very different version of the faith became dominant.
So this pattern of rejection, according to the source, all leads up to the final revelation. It argues that Islam faced the exact same test, but that this time, a divine counterplan was actually embedded within the message itself to try and preserve it.
The source really zeroes in on this moment, at a place called Ghadir Khumm, as the absolute critical point of designation. Right here, in front of tens of thousands of people, the Prophet Muhammad is said to have taken Ali's hand and declared his authority. The text hammers this point home. This wasn't some subtle hint or a quiet whisper. It was an explicit, very public appointment, designed so there could be no confusion later on. But almost immediately after the Prophet's death, that old pattern pops right back up. This slide shows this incredible contrast. On one hand, you have Ali, the designated successor, busy with the sacred duty of preparing the Prophet's body for burial. At the exact same time, a political meeting is happening somewhere else to elect a new leader. The source argues that this moment, this gathering at Saqifa, is where the paths split.
So, you might be wondering, if this hijacking was such a predictable pattern, how could the final message possibly be protected? Well, the source argues that a divine countermeasure was built in from the very beginning, a kind of spiritual anchor called Wilayah.
Wilayah is really the key concept here. It's not just about political leadership, it goes way deeper. It's a spiritual guardianship. The source defines it as this continuous, divinely appointed authority that's meant to act as an anchor for the faith, protecting it from getting twisted and corrupted over the generations.
And so who are the vessels of this Wilayah? The Ahl al-Bayt, or the people of the house. The text points to a specific verse in the Quran where God declares he has purified this particular group, basically making them the incorruptible guardians of the Prophet's true message.
And this whole idea gets crystallized in a famous teaching from the Prophet, known as the narration of the 2 weighty things. In it, he reportedly said he was leaving behind 2 treasures that could never be separated: the Quran, the written book,
and his progeny, the Ahal al-Bait. The crucial point according to this view is that one can't be fully understood without the other. The text needs its divinely appointed living guides. It's a package deal.
This brings us to our final section, which uses a really powerful metaphor from the source material to tie everything we've just talked about together.
This quote from Imam Ali basically captures the entire argument in a nutshell. If the prophet's knowledge is a house, well, then there's only one legitimate way in, through the designated door. The source argues that anyone who tries to claim religious authority through other ways, like a political election or by force, is essentially a thief, stealing something that wasn't meant for them.
And this door metaphor really highlights the ultimate stakes. The source brings up a prophecy that the community would split into many, many sects, but that only one would hold the key to salvation. So finding that single legitimate door isn't just presented as some academic exercise. It's framed as the central challenge for any believer.
And here it is. This is the central claim of the entire theory. The prophet is the city of divine knowledge, and Imam Ali and the designated successors after him are the one and only door to that city. According to the source, trying to bypass this door means you're basically locked out from the authentic message.
So we're left with a question that really gets to the heart of this entire theory. Is the method for preserving a divine message actually a part of the message itself? The source we've explored argues with a resounding yes. Its core idea is that a perfect message wouldn't just be tossed out there, left to the whims of politics and human error. It proposes that this guardianship system is the method of preservation, and that it's just as vital as the revelation itself. It's a pretty profound idea to think about.